A little,
Yours worked.
that was a little aggressive this morning.
But it works.
Yeah, it's,
Where last time, no sound.
I know.
Improvement.
Welcome,
Take
good
the-
morning. Some of our friends are not with us today, so we are recording this so that they can have the benefit of the conversations that we have today. As you saw, we're starting out, well, first, let me say, everyone direct your attention towards the table right there. Our Lisa is back. Down with Mesa for trying to take her from us, but she is back home with us. So I am extremely grateful that to have her back with us. Our lab runs so much smoother. Just in general, Jamie has chocolate, love that. But we're gonna start out and respect the time here of Travis and Brandon, who are gonna have a conversation. For those of you who are not aware, can you pop that door shut? Got a lot of good stuff. Thank you. So we had a situation that arose and where when they did a sweep checking for things like they do in computer land, we discovered that I got an email saying, do you know who this student is? And I said, yeah, she graduated last spring. This was in August that they're asking me. And it turns out that she took one of the laptops. Okay, she stated that because the police did get involved with this, I mean, taking of a piece of property when you graduated. She stated that a faculty member, she couldn't remember who, told her she could just take it home because she was having personal issues with her personal. Okay, yep, I see all of your faces. You know, that's not how we roll here. We did double check. We checked all of Gabe's logs. Gabe is the checkout person for laptops, right? That means that this individual captured it at some point, and she was blocked for. She did graduate. They shut down her internet access, and that's the only reason she answered us, was because she could no longer access the internet. And so when Gabe is so sweet, he reached out because I was gonna reach out in a much different fashion. He reached out and he was very gentle and said, hey, it looks like you might still be in possession of one of our computers. And she said, well, as soon as, I can't connect to the internet anymore. So as soon as I can get my personal stuff off of it, like this was her response. So one of our students at some point took it, right? Which then takes the ability for you guys to have the appropriate numbers of computers to test, and it drops it. So there's a couple of points here that we need to discuss. One is the observation of the students with the equipment, the checkout process. However, the protection of capital, that starts with all of us, okay? And we can't have the things walking in and out. So they are gonna have some best practices and tips for us so that we can try and get in front of that and make sure it doesn't happen again. Because a new computer cart, because I have been looking, because we have so many people testing at the same time. Anton threw a ballpark out at me of about 50 grand to get a new cart with all the innards and 24 more computers. So that's when I say, like, this is capital walking away. We can't have that because it's just gonna, I won't even go down the path of my feelings about the integrity of somebody who takes property like that. However, it happened. So I will turn it over to you guys.
That was never.
So I said, we do the things, like how we got that gap, I have no idea.
Well, I don't know a lot of faces, but I'm Travis. I'm the desktop supervisor, so I deal with the computer stuff, the physical devices mainly. As Constance had already indicated, we rely heavily on you all to be the people that are checking carts on a daily basis and making sure devices are returned, making sure devices are plugged in, because on the back end of that, I don't have staff that can be here all day to verify that, things are returned. It came up on a list of offline devices that hadn't communicated with their network for like 6 months, and we do periodically check that. And I was able, in this instance, to actually do everything she said. There's a lot of times where I can't disable internet because it's been off long enough, it's no longer talking to our servers, and I can't communicate with it to shut it down. So this is actually one of the rare instances where we're actually able to successfully do that.
Look at that, nursing didn't cost me money.
Yeah, take it as a win.
So I guess the big ask from IT is we need your help. When you have a class, when utilizing laptop carts, if you could just make sure that what was there when you started class is there when you leave class, and that everything is plugged in. I know there was some instances recently where we had pulled things out of carts and didn't communicate that. That's on us. We need to improve our part as well. But we rely heavily on you all for that.
It was a good test, right? Did you notice they were gone?
Well, and I would also encourage students, right, when devices are going back in the carts, encourage students as they're kind of wrapping up for class, make sure you log out of the computer or restart the computer, that kind of thing. We're not quite sure. I know there's been some part temperature issues. We've seen that in other areas, and we think that may be related to students leaving devices logged in and they're still running, so they're not logged out, they're not just sitting there kind of idle in a way. And we don't want them to shut them down because the maintenance stuff runs between 11 PM and 5 AM, so it doesn't affect you. But if they're off when you say Windows updates happens, it will force Windows updates to happen during the day. So if it's not online during that time for those security updates, all of a sudden you're getting interrupted in class, and we don't want to be doing that either. But also we have, we kind of got to balance security with that as well. And if you're seeing any issues, please let us know so we can try and figure out where the problems are arising from. It's an interesting investigative job sometimes, but we do our best, so.
Do you guys handle the physical carts as well, or is that somebody else? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's a lot of back and forth and in and out and students, and I try to make sure that they're plugged in properly, because students will plug things into things that don't fit.
All the
All
time.
the time.
All
So
the time.
I try to make it, but there have been, and Gabe knows this because I leave him little love notes, the ones that don't charge, or at least the light doesn't come on. And I'm not sure if, again, what you're saying, if that's maybe more of a software thing where they're in the middle of something, but you know how when you plug it in, light comes on. I will go through the whole thing because I'm a little OCD and make sure that they're all lit up by the end of the day, and there's sometimes that they don't.
I
So-
can share in the Retford carts in particular. There have been instances where the power bricks are failing, so
Okay.
Retford actually sent us a box full
Okay.
of
Yeah.
plugs that we could
So
replace.
just
and we
keep
just need to
sending
know.
Gabe love notes?
Yeah.
Okay.
We just need to know, and we need to specifically know, like, when you plug it in, you don't see power.
Mhm.
Because if the laptop is set in there, we just think it's a laptop problem.
Yeah.
We go put it back in and don't look at it.
Yeah, and ideally which slot, if you know that, because it just helps us pin it down faster so we can resolve it quicker.
So the more details you give,
Yeah.
Gabe, the more detail, or the quicker we're gonna be able to find the resolution and get it taken
Yep.
care of.
Yeah, for sure.
Can I ask a question? There was something that recently you guys might have seen about testing security, and there was like an app that you
Oh, yeah.
downloaded where you can cover, but that can't happen on ours, right? Like we can't.
No, that's the AI to get over lockdown browser in Respondus, it's any of them, but those individuals are also not using Monitor as an additional like lens of it, which captures the eye movement going between. Here, the students test here on our equipment, so they're not downloading, they wouldn't be able to download something to ours like that, would they?
Like, is it a separate piece other than lockdown
Yeah,
browser? 'Cause we
it's
already
something,
pre-installed
yeah,
lockdown
it,
browser.
yeah, it's something
So
that they
it's
get.
called Coursology, and there's YouTube videos extensively on how to use it, and it's like for Canvas from what I understand, and like they open this app or like extension or something, and when it opens a Canvas quiz, it
Hover,
basically
it
gives
gives
you
the
the
answer.
answers.
You can somehow hover over it. We can send you, I can send you
Yeah.
a link to it.
Interesting.
Yeah,
So trying to block something from
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah. Which
They-
again, if you're walking around in Proctor and like looking at your students' screens, like you should be doing, you're
Yeah.
gonna see if they're doing it or not, but you
Right.
know, I don't know.
I mean, we could take a look. I don't know that there's anything we'd be able to do. If it's an extension, we can probably do something like it's a Chrome extension or something like that.
Yeah, it's
Um,
just something that, yeah.
Yeah, but if you're using lockdown browser separate, like that's not running in Chrome, so then it wouldn't impact that, I would think. I don't know for sure. Because lockdown browser should be blocking them from going to any of that stuff.
Yeah, but it's not for some reason. There's like a workaround or.
There's
I was just
ways
curious.
they can work around lockdown browser.
Oh,
It's-
for sure.
It's.
Yeah, it's, I mean, it's not foolproof, definitely.
They would. spend
However,
much
do you
time
let the
studying.
students in with into the testing environment with the computers? How long before do you let them in there?
Wait, ask your question again?
How long before a test starts do you allow students in and have access to the computers?
Like right.
But like, yeah, 10, 15 minutes tops and you're in the room when it's, like
Yeah.
Cause I'm like, by the time they get due and they open that up and look at some of your test scores, do you think anyone's downloading anything?
Not yet.
Well, the only reason I asked that question is if it's a Chrome extension,
So.
if it's a Chrome extension, it can't be running in lockdown. Because it would have to be running in Chrome, right? So that tells me it's a web, probably like a website or something,
Yeah.
which theoretically I think, I am not a lockdown browser expert, do not get me wrong, I know about this much about lockdown browser, I know how to install it, I know how to use it as a student. I would think you should be able to filter those URLs out in your lockdown browser configurations on your courses. But I don't know that for sure, maybe a CTL question, but we're happy to take a look
Yeah,
at it
that's
and
a
see
good
if there's
point. Yep.
anything.
Okay.
Coursology is what it's called though, and it's just one of those, if it is something they can drop down onto one of our computers. But the reason I asked about how long before you let them in is it's just one of those controls on a proctored exam that you can have, that the less time they have, less opportunity they have to open up multiple things and do something shifty if they're going
And
to.
they can't download anything to a school computer anyways.
I mean, it
I
is,
think not, but
Yeah.
It's
I
a
put-
Chrome extension.
So let's just-
Chrome extension.
I wanna differentiate between download and install,
Install, right.
right? They can't install anything for sure.
Right.
Chrome browser extensions, I'm not positive on that one, because Chrome browser extensions run within the user context, not in the computer context, which it doesn't stop them from doing that. To download something, yes, they'd be heavily restricted from running anything.
so.
So there's also an app, they literally can hold their phone over a question and using AI at all.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
But
And
you don't let
if
them
you've
use
got,
it.
if you see students doing this,
Well,
I'm
they
gonna
don't-
first ask y'all, how did that happen? Like, what is that? So, but but that's something to be said. That is something to be said about the, with some of those things, even with testing, at home, because the NCLEX in 2026 is going to start having an option. I don't know what that option entails. It could be an accessibility option that is being offered. And so you, Ms. PhD, need to know that it is an option that needs to happen because of.
I wrote something about that in these last 7 days.
Well, there you go.
But ProctorU, like all, like your the certification like CCRN, CEN, FPC, all those, they've been using ProctorU for
Yeah.
years.
Yes, so there are other places that use it. And again, we've had this conversation during COVID when some concerns came up about lockdown browser, monitor, et cetera. And I said the same thing that I said to you guys just now. I told all of NLC, if my students are cheating, they're not doing a great job.
Not doing good.
So they are
They need to cheat
performing,
better.
they're performing in the same manner. So like,
Let's look at some YouTube videos.
yeah, so it's just one of those things that the NCLEX is gonna follow some of that. It's not bad. ProctorU though has a cost. And it's not a cost that we can burden, so it would be a cost that would move to the students. If it ever turned out that this was something that students can somehow manage to get around here on site with us. And that's a different conversation.
So don't let computers go.
Don't let
Is that what it
computers
Don't
go.
let computers go, make sure they're turned on, please.
And if you see anybody like walking out with a mannequin, like over their shoulder.
I don't care about mannequins, that's not.
Did you ask permission to take that mannequin?
Thank you, Travis and Brandon.
Thank you guys. Hi, Jenny.
There's a med.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing pretty well, getting ready to head up for a week of intensive meetings. So I'm sitting here watching you thinking, yep, that's what's ahead of me.
Yeah, okay. Well, welcome. Yeah, well, the camera's right there. That's the only way she sees you.
Hi,
There-
everybody.
There is a whole room here, but they all hid on that side.
Yeah, I am aware, I see that in more places than not, so it's okay.
We can always pan the camera that way.
We're in here for another meeting prior.
Okay. All right. So thank you so much for joining. When we had sent out, Jenny, just so you're aware, before a strategic planning event this past weekend, I created a form and asked the faculty, gave kind of an agenda of the key things that we were looking at, having conversations about, because it included a lot of things that have popped up over, through meeting minutes, things that, necessarily that we have to address for the next 3 years, especially with the budget cuts coming. And so one of the questions that did come in was actually about kind of a circle back to the work that you had done and the data that you had collected. And so that's when we reached out to you and asked you if you could join us.
Absolutely, thank you.
Absolutely.
So I'm happy to report back some of what I saw in the data. I appreciate 12 people did the survey and returned it to me. And I want you to know how much I appreciate that because it really kind of helps me. One thing that I found kind of interesting is that there were a couple of comments in the more narrative part of the survey about, I don't know why we had to have this session with Dr. Wangren. And then there was a comment that said, I'm trying to find it. It was something about, we continue to be disengaged or something like that, a shift in tone after that meeting. And I don't know what that meant, if that was a positive or a negative. So I'll just put that out there and let you mull that, because you folks are all together. You have the opportunity to decide what that discussion that I brought to you meant, and then what this feedback meant. And I made it clear in the survey that this was anonymous, confidential, that I don't know who said what, and I have no way of tracking that. I didn't want that. So I have essentially aggregated it. And I'm just going to give you back some of my feedback and then maybe a couple of ideas of where to go from there. The first question I asked was to list 3 words that describe your team now. Okay. And out of the 12 responses, 7 people listed 3, what I would call kind of negative or concerning terms. Okay. All 3 terms were of a team that's not functioning well, not functioning respectfully, not functioning with good communication. All right. And 2 people had 3 positive, uplifting words that describe their team. And then the other few were a combination. So that rather validated that there is stuff going on, right? And then I asked for 3 words that best describe the team that you want. And again, some of these same words showed up occasionally on where you are, but of course, these were all terms that you strive for. And a couple of things that stood out there to me, words that had to do with being trustworthy, reliable, collaborative, those kinds of things. In other words, people want to be a team and they want to be able to trust their team. I saw that as a strong thread in there. Several people talked about being engaged and energized, right? And I think those go together. If we feel a shared goal and passion and comfort with our teammates, we're more likely to be engaged and to feel some energy and to get creative and those things that we're looking for. So that's what you're looking for from each other. And that was pretty congruent throughout. So then I asked you to compare those answers, right? So compare where you are with where you want to be. And I think one thing that was kind of telling, there was a fairly long response that said, I feel like this idea of incivility in our team is very misunderstood. And yet what I saw from those descriptors, I think, if we look at civility or incivility broadly, which is what it is, it's everything about the way that we collaborate, communicate, respond to each other, etc. I think you demonstrated to me that it is. And I had seen some of that in some of the documents that I had access to and was able to read prior to, which led us to kind of want to bring this forward and, if you will, bring it out of the closet and say, this is what's going on. A couple of people talked about how it's important to have a team in which you can trust people. I think there was this sense about being branded, or being told that this is an incivility that was, if you will, hurtful, right? Okay, it felt personal. That's not the intention, but on the other hand, we can't look at ourselves and our colleagues and change our relationships if we don't recognize where it is. So that is one of the things. One person had just two words, miles apart, which I thought was kind of sad, but also descriptive of what I saw when I looked at those collectively. And, somebody said there's an obvious disconnect between the team I want to be a part of and the team I actually am a part of. And again, I thought that was summative of what I saw both prior to and in the responses that I got. But what concerned me is some, people are saying, I just kind of checked out. I'm just, I'm stepping away from it. Not physically, but if you will, sort of intentionally disengaging. And that goes back to some of the descriptors. If you're not feeling comfortable, if you're not feeling safe, then you tend to disengage. You tend not to contribute. You tend to disappear, right? If not physically, at least cognitively, if you will, or emotionally. So definitely validated through narrative what were in those words, right? So I think what I did, I hope what I did was have you think about that, the what's going well, what I want, and then how do those line up. So then I did ask about, maybe that was my last question. Let me see. It was a couple of days ago when I looked at this again. Briefly describe your role over the last 9 months and what have you done that contributes or doesn't contribute? Oh, yes, this was an important one to teamwork and civility. Several people did acknowledge that they had not effectively disengaged from some of the harmful behavior, some of the negative behavior. And they were trying to recognize that and pull away from participating. So that's the first step, not to participate. There's an excellent book. It's very, very small, easy to read, and it connects to some exercises. And it's called The Dauntless Nurse. And it's written by Kathleen Bartholomew, and I think she has a co-author. I haven't looked at that for a while, but it really works through some of these behaviors that can be improved or some ways to have more effective. But one of the things that I've always carried from that book was not about me without me. That's in one of the chapters in there, right? Not about me without me. And I think that's one of the things I'm seeing is that we're not sitting down and bravely having those conversations with the people who are, who I being any one of us that I feel has been irresponsible or rude or curt or withholding information or gossiping or whatever word you want to put in there. Because remember that the incivility is one of many kinds of behaviors. It's not a thing in and of itself. It is a collection of behaviors that lead to discomfort in the work setting or in the relationship. And so those are some of the things that I was seeing. So several people said that they're trying to help improve communications, but several people said that they are finding they're more disengaged. And that's kind of where it ends, is that there's this mixed bag of where people feel they are in terms of moving forward and facilitating improvement, or perhaps feeling like they can't make a difference in withdrawing. None of those are going to get you where you want to be. And having met a number of you, one-on-one, small group, what have you, you have a tremendous amount of talent and care. And by that, I mean the caring of a nurse, the caring of an educator, the caring of a colleague in you. And it breaks my heart to see anybody shutting that down and to see people calling out others by name in any kind of a meeting or a document or a hallway or in the bathroom or wherever it is, right? Instead of having the courage to go to that person and just say, I watched this observation between you and our other colleague and it concerns me. And could we have a private conversation about that? So what I will leave you with is if there's anything I can do to help that, certainly I would be happy to do so. But I think it really belongs in that room where you are with all of you. There was some talk about, I do have to bring this up, about feeling that there's not shared governance and empowerment. And I have to say, maybe part of that is having some conversations about what's in faculty control and what's not in faculty control. I do not know. I am merely guessing that some of that might have been about decisions that were made that were handed down or over and really were not negotiable. And I know when I was the leader that sometimes that's the hard stuff, is to say, you know what, this is a decision that is out of our control. It's been made for us, or there are no options, and this is, so we need to make the best of this. I don't know if it was that or if it was in your particular term, your team that you're working with. But think about that. If there are decisions that you've been unhappy with, sit down with the decision maker or the person who communicated that and just say, help me understand. Okay, that's one of the best phrases we can use. Help me understand why. And the other thing I would just bring up is when you have a concern, if you do nothing else, please make it a practice to talk to the person the concern is with, not to your colleagues, not to the students, not to other people outside the organization, but go to that person first. Do your best to have a meaningful conversation. If that doesn't work, then take it to the appropriate person past that. But again, not to those who aren't in that decision making, who aren't responsible, and in situations where it would simply create more disjointedness, if you will. So that's what I saw. You are a great group. You've been through a lot the last 2 years. You have made so many changes that have led to successful outcomes for your students. You're respected. Don't let that work sour you on who you are, where you are, and who your colleagues are. Build that back up. Build it back up. Questions or comments?
This is your opportunity. But not
Thank you
the
for
only
sharing.
opportunity.
You can also,
Thank you.
yeah, you can also reach out one-on-one. But you know, right now you kind of comes up with the next part, which is Jenny and I have both submitted our final reports to the Board of Nursing to come off of probation. So all of that has been completed last week. We have not really heard much back from Dr. Bitsa on what comes next, but the date that's listed on the website is 10/18. So 10/18 is when it should officially end. I just know that they can't make an official determination because the full board doesn't meet again till November. So even though we know when it ends per the documentation and the legal paperwork that was signed, I only know this deeply because I had to sign that paperwork, and we are good on the 18th, barring them saying that we haven't done something, which I would assume in 2 years, they would have already told us that we had not done something that they wanted from us. Did I miss anything on that one, Jenny?
No, you're absolutely right. All of our reports, yours and mine, and we've written many reports over the last 2 years, have all been accepted by the board. There's not been more than one request, I think, in that entire time between us for a clarification, so, but we've gotten, just, positive responses of it being accepted. And, my report to the board leaves no doubt that I believe you should go off probation, that you are a strong program. And what we talked about now, that's between all of us. Your outcome, the two things that the board based their greatest concern on have been addressed consistently for much of this 2 years. And that's what I focused on. This is a growing pain. It's, in my mind, it's not something that will keep the program from being successful, but it's what you can do to help maintain that success, but also grow even stronger together. So I'm very confident that that will happen. I can say that because I'm the consultant. Constance has to be cautious because she's part of the program, but I can just say on your behalf, I submitted a very positive report, and I'm sincere about it.
And for our report, just like I've told each and every one of you, every single one of those evals, including my own, the board has in their possession. So if they had anything to say about it, my assumption would be that we would have heard something sooner than now, 18 days before we're supposed to be off. So that is my hope and my thought on it. So as far as the board goes, we should be good. But if you want to reach out to Jenny, you still have that opportunity up until October 18th. After that, it's because you're friends with her.
That's right. And you all have my email. So please feel that you can. All right. It's okay. And if somebody just needs a conversation, it's okay. Let me know. I'm happy to have that.
We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. All right. Have a great, oh yeah. Hand up for me or?
No, I was waving at you.
Oh, yay. Hi. All right. Wonderful. All right, guys.
Have
Thank you.
safe
so much.
travels.
Thank you. I will.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, where are we at? Okay, wait. I told you the probation.
There really is no new update from district. Same old, we're in a budget crisis.
Um, I already sent an
Okay.
email out telling everybody.
She was whispering behind to say, what about my RFAC? So yes, I have been appointed to the RFAC, which I'm very excited about.
What does that stand for?
It is the team that handles our residential faculty agreement.
Got it.
So the agreement that handles everything, including fighting for pay scale structures, it's our policies, what governs our contract. So there has always been this misrepresentation by some of the occupational programs that nobody from occupational is ever allowed to sit on this. Nobody's ever allowed to participate. Our voice isn't heard, and that's why things are off. So on the last day of nominations, I finally said, you know what, let's just see. Let's just see if that's true, because I have a very deep pretty deep experience and a breadth of experience in policy, regulation, accreditation at the local, state, federal, and national level. So I was like, now if they turn me down, I might have some questions, but let's just see what it looks like. And sure enough, I got it. So I had to go through an interview process. It had to be approved by the Faculty Executive Council at district, or FEC is what they call it. And I did find out from NLC that another nursing director did go for it. So I don't know if anyone else in occupational did, but it'll be a 4-year appointment. And I think that it's gonna actually be a really good place for me to be working on that contract during these next 4 years because of the budget and what that looks like. Faculty is a different classification of everybody else. And so we are bound by this contract, unlike some of the employee handbooks, we have a faculty one. So everything down to the days of accountability, when you wonder, why are they making me come in on a Friday? Why can't I just come in on a Monday for my first day of accountability? Things like that. But also what's in residence, all the things that matter to a faculty member. they deal with that. So it's been a minute since a faculty member from Phoenix College has been on there. Patty Finkenstadt used to do it. And then when she became the associate vice chancellor, she is now actually one of the co-chairs. So we still have somebody that I'm familiar with. And I will start shadowing those meetings this term, not getting paid for them, and then I will actually start going. Does not really impact here, other than I'll be at district for a set meeting. And I've stepped out of the strategic planning tri-chair role, so they will be having to fill that, but that is a Dr. Britt and faculty senate thing, so I don't know if they'll be put. I see Erin over there going nose goes, she's not doing it. But you really have to be interested in strategic planning and the budget and assessment and tying that all together. You have to be in it to be like, to have to lead it. So I'm sad to leave that, but I just think that this is a different step in another direction that still goes with the strategic planning that I already do, much to everyone's dismay. That's why I'm constantly thinking over here versus here sometimes. So she's over there keeping me in check. I'm like, I sent an email. So that's the only district update I have. Budget, I did put in SPOL. This is the last time. So SPOL is a strategic planning online tool that we have. I put in what we knew we needed, and then during strategic planning, we came up with the next 3 years, what's gonna break, what's gonna go down, what do we need to elongate the life of the things that we have? Because I don't know where you have the grant, it's not on there. Because they're starting to make some of those changes. I don't know how many of you were in your email this morning, but under budget, they have, as of this morning, Dr. Britt has stated that all caps on in-person classes must rise to 24. That is not a problem for us because we decreased down, but we hit that 24 spot because there's a reason for that 24 spot. So nursing doesn't have to do anything because we did the work a year ago. And we will not be impacted. Yes, we will not be impacted. Everyone else is scrambling because they have courses that are at 16 or 15. So they have to rise them. The bigger challenge for us is that they have also raised the cap of all online classes. They must now sit at 27. That I did push back and said, you know, initially, so that might be hard for one of our classes. But it like helps people get in to an advanced placement program. That's NUR 187. NUR 191 is in person. I told them we're not gonna budge that one because if I budget one student over 20, because that's the one I can't have at 24, I'm gonna have to add an entire another lab section to accommodate the students. And I got the response from Ty while we were in here. He's like, always gotta be difficult, but I understand. So that one is protected. The ones that are not are the other HCRs, 210, 220, 230, 240. I have no idea how managing 27 students in a pathophysiology class is going to look online. So the spring schedule is already out. I'm going to be coming to those who are technically teaching these and ask them, do you want to bring it in person? Do you want to do it in a different method? Because if it's not strictly online, then we can start having a different conversation. If we keep it online, what I need everyone to know is that increases the number of students you have to have for it to go and make. So it used to be at 20, that meant 15 and it's a go. Well, now we've just added 7 more people to that. And I understand why that's happening. It hurts with nursing because we only have those couple of classes, but across the other disciplines, it is not like us. They can have 30, 40 sections of something. And so they are being asked to cut. Eric and I, because he has had his 191 canceled a couple times, asked him about spring. Do you want to try it? Do you not want to try it? Or do you want to just not have it in spring and we throw it in the pot as a gimme so that we can run 2 sections over the summer? So I'm starting to play chess with administration, essentially, to say, if I give you this is how it would impact, and can we try this instead? Just so we can try and maintain. We are also, what ties into that is the fact that it's tied into the Ad Astra pilot. Does everyone knows what Ad Astra is? Nope.
No.
Ad Astra is a strategic scheduling software product. So right now, I have all these paper sheets that have print out the schedules that, like for spring, it gives me spring 24. Whatever we had in spring 24, and I have to redline them and scan them back to scheduling, and scheduling puts them in, and then it generates for find a class and from SIS, which then feeds your pay. It's a very complicated system. And it doesn't give me any information. In Ad Astra, they asked us to be a part of the pilot. Again, because nursing likes to say we're different, but nobody actually can see that data of how are you different. They hear that our scheduling is complex, right? They hear that it doesn't align with other things, but where can they actually see it? Because SIS does not allow us to truly put in all the things we need to put in. That's problematic. So they asked us, the largest occupational program at this college, of course we would be picked. Like, let's go. So as I started going into it, it's actually very cool. I can go in there and it's intuitive. It gives us the different path of, should you drop this class? Should you keep these? They're going just fine. And then the red ones, red you would think is bad. Red means warning, you probably need to add a new section. Every single nursing course says you should probably need a new section. So as soon as I saw that, I was like,
So does that mean we get more sections?
I raised my hand and I was like, so according to what I'm reading here, and Halise, who used to be here in our CTL, was like, you need to calm down. I was like, but I'm just saying, it says that we need more sections.
Please.
You need to calm down.
So it is a very cool thing. Occupational programs are usually left out of these pilots. But again, this comes down to, if we continue to say that we're different, how? And where's the data? This is going to provide data. And I love some data. So we are a part of it. What that means is nothing for you guys other than these conversations that we have been having by email last week about when are things scheduled. Because the policies are as such that you test on your didactic, okay? So in that same frame in here, I don't have one for the NLC, but I did reach out to NLC and the board, and I reached out to Margie because she has a different perspective, I will assume, coming from district, and she sits on the full board of nursing, not just the education committee. So I don't know what else she has seen with, but I know that she knows those policies. So I asked everybody. 3 colleges still have not answered me. I reached out to them, asked them again, can I please have your information? But as a rule, I did email all of you with the link to the spreadsheet. Interestingly, someone from a Gmail account who is a faculty member, but not one of ours, was trying to get access to it, which I thought was really bizarre.
Weird.
Yeah, I was like, no, thank you. Just no, not today, not today. So, but in that NLC data, it shows that we are actually in alignment by having them on the same day. I would really like to hear, because Scottsdale has been going through a lot of changes. I guess their loading was out of control, was what I was told. This was in NLC. They cost twice as much as the rest of us to run, and they only have 36 students by the time they hit block 4. So there was a lot of loading, and some of it was testing, some of it was standalone testing, some of it was lab testing load being taken out of lab hours. And so I'm like, I'm not getting into that. Just tell me what it is. So the answers that I posted and pasted, that's directly from them. And I'm sorry, Margie's are a lot longer, right? But she has that context also from Gateway. So I'm kind of in my head going, all right, she was the director of Gateway for a really long time. I have to assume those are the same answers that Gateway is going to give me, but I'll fill them in as soon as they have that. So the strategic scheduling in Ad Astra, one of those things is ensuring that we're aligning with the college policies. And when there has to be a variance, what does that variance look like? Why? How does it impact the students? It's also starting to look at, because we are a specialized program, it is a 9-credit class, right? But it's a 9-credit class with a very clear division of where those hours are supposed to be. That's why we have multiple days. And when I asked you guys, how does this impact block 4? Because everyone's, Block 4 literally has no lab hours. I only hold Mondays, so they have a spot. So they hold a space, so that when they do need to do something that isn't in clinical, they don't have to fight for labs. Because I remember how bad that was trying to fight for a spot and do something in between everyone else. So when we start looking, that Ad Astra brings up those questions that I keep bringing out to you. Every single time it pop, I bring them out. And wherever we're out of alignment, you're gonna see a conversation like that. And everyone may not like it. However, those questions are being generated by an entity that is going to blanket all of Maricopa. Okay, and that's the strategic scheduling. One of the other things is that nursing, and I'm assuming other allied healths, we don't do a great job of creating schedules with the mindset that there are students still taking co-recs. There are students who are still taking additional classes to meet their 12. And we don't pay attention. We're like, oh, you're in nursing school. You are mine 7 days a week from here to here. And when I first started here, that's actually what the find a class schedule said. It said Monday through Sunday, like 6 a.m. till 7 p.m. Oof. That's what you got. And then we just told you what you were gonna do at any time during all of that. So it's taken us this long, since 2009, to finally get to this point. So it's not a fast process. But some of it, they are really looking at the scheduling components of it because of Ad Astra, because of strategic scheduling. That makes sense? So once I get the other three, we can finish having this conversation. Because it all goes along with the raising of the caps. Your classrooms are fine though. And when we did our, redid our classrooms, we can't really go much higher than that. So unless they want to go back to only one lecture space, which is in here. And that doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense now, does it? Did I miss anything on that?
So then, as far as Britt's email is reducing sections is another.
Yeah, we can't reduce sections.
We can't reduce sections.
No, because I have, because they don't want me to decrease enrollment. I already did that preemptively, which is why we only have 72 instead of 90.
Right.
Yep. So we can't reduce any longer. I can't take away lab sections because that's gonna violate the requirements for accreditation. So we have a protection over that kind of part, but they're not gonna take, if they were to wipe out an entire cohort,
Yeah.
we would be in exact opposition of what the state and the city is asking us to do. So I've been having these conversations for 2 years with them about how do we, and that's why some of those alignments, all those painful changes that seem to continually come with these shifts. We did those little shifts so that we didn't get hammered like everyone else is getting right now. Right now, there are departments who are cutting 40, 50 sections. There are adjuncts who are not gonna be working. It's ugly. For us, we're still moving forward just as we have been because we thought about it in advance. We put the things in advance. I let you be mad at me for the past 2 years versus freaking out right now. I'm okay with that.
So our blocks 1 through 4 are just gonna be how they've been.
They are
Our
gonna,
staffing sheet's legit, and then on the chopping block is our online stuff.
yeah, the onlines will be the only ones, you know?
Is
Cause
there any possibility of adding more sections, like adding a 4th cohort to any of the blocks?
that will be once everything else settles out. We are exploring some external funding
Oh,
sources in conjunction with the state that would only be us and the state versus this Arizona expansion grant. Because that grant does end, like we've said. But we are looking at other funding sources that would help that. We have also been in discussion about moving the building back to main campus. Both for
Whoa.
the students. For the students, for the faculty, it's really hard to not be a part of the bigger community on campus when you're over here. It's hard for the students when they can't find a parking spot and they're anxious and now they're freaked out coming into a test or into a lab practicum too. There's, really, they could fight the transients for space outside to sit outside, but we don't even want to
we
walk.
have a nice little community.
I saw it this morning.
Yes, all the things.
They have shelter now. But how many of you are down for going for your walk around the campus?
Look at all the hands.
Yeah.
No, I have a question.
Yeah, no, yes, and yes to main campus, not like picking up this building. There is a building over there, I have been in conversation, so our building has been temporarily closed for a long time. A lot of people want it. Angela, our Vice President of Administrative Services, has always wanted us back on main campus or wanted across the street to have a multi-level parking garage, okay? We have a building over there and that's what everyone's fear is. Well, there's no place big enough for you. And so we got our building floor plan layout and we started looking at it. I was like, imagine labs on a first floor. And because we have to plan for that, right? It's gonna cost $1,000 per bed to get those beds down from upstairs, down and moved over.
Oh my gosh.
Because they didn't build this building with a service elevator.
Right.
There's no service elevator, so we can't fit a bed to get up and down. They have to build a ramp.
They built a ramp.
They built a ramp for the new ones, but we decided they may have also used a lift to pull up before the stairs were put in.
That is crazy.
With,
Yeah.
so with
Awesome.
respect to the whole, like, we're not supposed to be testing on our lab days, which is what I've done for the last several semesters, in the med surge. Can we lecture on main campus?
Sure can.
Like, as of right now?
Yeah,
I'm
as
limited
long as
right
there's,
now, But that would make it, cause I like to test on main campus, cause there's almost zero issues
Yep.
with computers and technology.
You-
when we test in the library.
all we gotta do is work Gabe to help work magic in 25 Live and find you a room. So you absolutely, you guys are not restricted to just this building. You can ask for any of the buildings over there. We used to have orientation in the bullpen. Like, Kristen remembers, orientation in the bullpen. We'd bring all the adjuncts in that were assigned to the clinicals. They'd get to meet them that day. It was great. Yeah, we used the Willow Room. Love that one because it had for years, because it had the round tables and nobody else did. So Marilyn and I was like, let's go to the Willow. So that's where we used to go.
Lectured with the EMTs.
Like those are always an option. You just have to make sure that we're asking in advance for the space and the room over on main campus. Because it'll be down to which building. And I can always bring that to the chairs as well. If we can't find anything in 25 Live, I know who's has 40% of their classes online. So I know where there's rooms available. They just need to let us play in them.
Right.
That's all. Yes.
So along with that, then that's actually huge because I too tested on main campus and it game changer.
Isn't it
Game
beautiful?
changer. But with that, then because block one will now have to take it out because we were one of the groups, we were one of the bad ones that thought were provided information that it was okay to test
Yeah.
using lab hours because anyway.
Yeah. No,
whatever.
and it's
Changing.
We're moving from
Got
this
it.
point forward.
So given that, if we do lecture on main campus, is it something where we're given a bit of a cushion to transition from testing in the library to going to class? Or is that 4 hours inclusive of everything? Because that was a big concern with, DRS students and if we wanted to test on main campus. Are we able to build some transit time in there or is it legit? You have from 10 till 2 to do everything,
It's legit. You guys have 60 hours. in
including
your-
transit time.
It is inclusive of your orientation, your exams and your lectures.
Well, sorry, what I mean is transiting from exam to classroom, because we can't lecture in the library.
Right.
You don't get uncounted.
You don't
It
get
does, if you're lecturing on main campus, it doesn't.
Yeah, on main campus, that would be great, but if we're lecturing here.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I would give an
Context.
hour in
Yeah.
between.
Do you know how that works?
For them to, so on Tuesdays, I lab from 7 to 12. My exam would start at 1 because that gave them time to
Get there.
get their crap, throw some food in their stomach and get over to main campus and down into the library.
And log in.
Your hours must remain, I don't know how, I can say it 1,000 ways. If
Gotta be done by 12.
you've got to be done, it fits, it's not before or after lecture, and that's kind of some of the verbiage. It is a part of lecture. It's a part of lecture. And I don't know if you've gone in and taken a look, but Margie even gave her perspective on like how long of an exam and stuff like that. I was quite frankly shocked. I'm on recording. I was shocked to see that we were in alignment with her. I was, but it has to fit within there.
So if we can just get with Gabe to book a room if we can.
If you can, and if you can't find something, then I can start looking.
She didn't cite her resource though. She didn't cite her resource.
Oh my God.
So
She said research shows more than 50 to 75 questions will create test fatigue. I would like to read that article.
I want you to reach out to her and ask her.
Your expectations are too high. Yes, this is reality.
Well, you know, and that's actually really good because we did just have an AI situation with a student. So asking for a reference is a very valid point right now. Yeah.
You got too much free time on your hands.
Okay, first, I just want to say, like, thank you for advocating for the small class size. It's been a game changer. I love it. I appreciate it. It's huge. So
Welcome.
let's keep doing that.
Yes.
So when we got the email and it was like, okay, schedules can't be changed, but obviously they're gonna have to shift.
Yep.
Because, you know, whatever. So, okay, that's good to hear that that's okay. And then are we perhaps open to like being a little creative in our schedule, such as like, if I was like, you know what, here's my challenges or barriers or whatever, could I consider doing didactic Monday, Wednesday? Like, or, cause I know we kind of
Yeah.
talked about that before.
Kristen did.
Yeah. okay.
Kristen moved, she moved it out to a Monday, Wednesday, and then she switched it to a Monday, Tuesday. And I'm gonna tell you right now, that is gonna nail me at Astra, because they're gonna be like, that's not a normal meeting pattern, right? But that's where I step in with the specialized program.
Okay.
We don't fight it for some of the other stuff, but that's where I use it to say, but how am I gonna get all of this
Yeah.
other stuff in?
Yeah, because that's a really positive point in that, you know, we're not compromising what we know is working for students to
Yep.
fit a schedule. We're doing the opposite. We're just like remolding it a little bit so the schedule works too. And
So are
it's
you saying you would split your lecture into two and have one of those days more dedicated to the exam?
perhaps, I mean, I
Okay.
haven't looked at it because I
Okay.
really didn't want to like dive into it
Yeah.
until I know what to.
Yeah,
look
and you guys can look, and especially in block 4, we have done it, there was a time when all of block 4 was completed in 8 weeks.
Yeah.
With both specialties. They lectured 2 days a week,
Yeah.
right? So they had critical
Right, I
care.
remember you saying that,
They-
yeah.
And they had clinicals for 2 different types of clinicals at the same time. If you passed that comprehensive final, then you got to go to 191, which was, or I'm sorry, 291, which was your capstone experience. No proctored points at all in that. That's the transition to practice hours in the new curriculum used to be a whole separate course. Block 4 used to be 2 courses that they shoved into one, and I went, okay, here we go.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Because I was playing around with my hours and stuff, we were like talking about it and stuff. So now that we're gonna take exams out of labs and we're gonna put it in lecture.
Yep.
I am short 7 hours of lab,
11,
11. On mine, she was.
Hessian final.
Oh, Hessian final, okay.
All
So
of
that'll
that
be
stuff.
11. So can I add a 3-hour or 4-hour lab, 2 or 3 4-hour labs as like a boot camp for health assessment, bioscience, things like that? Because I know some colleges have like, they front load a bunch of labs
Mhm.
in the first few weeks before the practicum, right? So I was thinking to make up those lab hours, we were thinking maybe we can have like 2, 3 extra labs if we have the space to make up those lab hours.
Or can we add half an hour to one of our labs? Because we've split our labs into
Mhm.
the farm and the.
Do skills lab though.
Well, no, I'm just, so like, this is what I'm saying, because given that we have to recoup these hours now, are those on the table? Because otherwise
They have to be on the
they
table.
have to be, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
they absolutely have. The last thing we want, because now we've asked the question and with ASIN coming, they're gonna, and we're still on probate, they're gonna be like, so were you actually doing your hours? And I'm gonna be like, of course we were. But yeah, you have to find a way
So
to
how do we
increase
do
the
that
lab.
now moving forward? Is that a you and Corinne
Is that
thing
something-
because of lab space and
SIS,
stuff like
right?
that and SIS or? how
There,
does that-
all of those documents are currently sitting on my desk
Right,
right now.
okay.
They had just been cross-checked by Corinne because SIS isn't correct.
Okay.
And so she did a cross-check on them and I was getting ready to scan them today and send them over. So if there's changes that can be made, and they're gonna have to have some flexibility. The nice thing with nursing is nobody's just direct enrolling in our classes. Not a single student in this program gets to self-enroll. We enroll them when it's
So
time.
nobody has seen the schedule.
Oh,
yet?
they can probably see whatever's up there because they just rolled forward the spring one. They opened it sooner than they ever do, and most of us have not had a chance to get them corrected yet.
Okay.
They
I-
opened it incorrect.
Okay, so that's confusing about the email because it said, unless it's been discussed, there can be no changes, but here's all the changes we have to make. So you're,
I'll just speak to that a little bit,
Okay.
because the key is that the scheduling piece is a constant moving target. And the piece that the team has been resistant to is that we can't keep changing the stuff. You guys, there's more work every time you change your scheduling pattern. It gets changed and changed every semester. Somebody's moving a day, somebody's moving something. They're moving it because of personal and all that. We have to make the schedule for the students. And so when we say that, no changes unless they're approved. It's like, you can't still be having conversations about moving days and then we have schedules due, like we have a timeline too that we have to honor in the face of all the conversations, in the face of all of the changes. So the goal is to figure out the meeting pattern and then just keep rolling it forward every semester. And we have not been able to do that in 5 years. So we really need to do that because that increases everybody's workload all the time. So if we want to continue to decrease everyone's stress level, decrease how everyone's feeling overwhelmed, we need to make a commitment to something. Obviously, there's nothing that is never, ever going to change, right? It's nursing, but it can't be changing every semester. Like the workload is too much. It's hard for adjuncts to get consistent. Like there's a lot of other ramifications besides, we want the students' best interest, yes, but we also still have to schedule, right, in a way that's sustainable. So our scheduling pattern currently and our habits as a faculty team are not sustainable. So that's where that came from, is like, we can't be in November like, oh, I'm gonna change my day. No, we gotta be more holistic in the conversation.
but given that we know that there's things that are wrong.
Yes,
We
absolutely.
can make the
Yes.
change.
Right now
And
is
through
the time.
process, we're identifying the
Like
issues.
honestly,
Yeah.
we would like to keep it, we would like to
I
keep
got
it
you.
consistent.
I got you. Hang on.
If we can just throw in those 3 labs, we can just keep it consistent every semester. We'll have 3 extra labs that students are expected to be at. That will make up the lab hours.
And whichever way you guys make the decision, you, Kara and Josefa, you guys make that decision together. I can add it to the schedule, the SIS schedule sheets that are sitting on my desk right now. The sooner I have that information, the better. Corinne is out with a family emergency today. When she is back, we will be able to have a conversation with her about the changes. Cause like I said, she just did a cross-check on this, and now she's not here, and I'm gonna be like, oh, by the way, her head's gonna fall off. She'll be okay. Hang on. Eric's had his hand up over there like forever. He's gotta hold it up at this point. I got you.
Sorry, in student, I want a clarifying question, and this may be because I just tried to die two weeks ago and still have sepsis brain, but. So I've heard you say that exams aren't like a before or after, they're a part of didactic. So we have our hours, right? So like for critical care, we have 45 hours of lecture. So our lecture time, we've broken it down to like 9 to 1:30, right? And then our exam time is like above like that lecture time, but it's still within the 45 hours that we have for lecture.
Stop using the terminology above or outside of class time. It is a part of your class. And those hours just can't go over 45. That's where some of this is also coming up because I've had questions from our administration. Why are you guys testing before or after class? When I say before or after class, what does it sound like? Extra.
Like it's extra.
Outside.
Right.
But it's not. So if your If you're supposed to be there from 8 till 2, then that's what it needs to say.
Okay,
You as a collective group, Eric, you spend the time on the 30 hours for peds. Jill, Kalichi, you're gonna be looking at that 45 hours and ensuring orientation. You guys figure out where orientation comes from, right? Cause I know you have, cause you don't have lab hours, so how are you orienting to clinical? Like, we have those questions as well. But you guys have to figure out, how do I ensure orientation, my lecture and my exams or quizzes are within that time period? And then give me that date, cause the students also have to hear that.
Okay.
That's what I have to have in SIS, because that's what Ed Estra is picking up, is why is there extra, or why don't you have enough?
Okay,
It's why don't you have enough hours? Because right now, we don't schedule in SIS your exams.
Right, they're not looking at our
Right, so
spreadsheet.
that-
No,
so
they,
that's what I-
they're like, we have no idea what your spreadsheet looks like, lady.
so that's what I was wondering, so like, for lecture, we lecture from 9 to 1:30, but then if we have an exam, like you wanna know what day we're having the exam, and so like in SIS, then it'll say they're gonna be there from this time to this time, including the exam? Or
It's
like.
9 to 1:30 with your exam and lecture.
Your exam has to
So,
be done by
but
one.
he's saying he doesn't have an exam every week. Yeah.
Cause the lecture time is from 9 to 1:30, but then like, so our exam time and lecture, like, we've got it down, it's within the time frame that we have. But for lecture itself is designated from 9 to 1:30, but then if they have an exam that day, it's gonna be a longer day.
I just want you to take your hours,
Hours with you.
divide them by
But
the
they're-
number
they're
of
not over.
lectures.
If you look at our
Take your
spreadsheet. the
hours. Take your hours, divide it by the number of days, okay, that you have lecture. Whatever that number of hours is, you have to fit all of your lectures and your exams into that. So it may be a different exam pattern that you have to investigate. It may be that they're coming in one day and taking an exam, but they maybe have a little bitty lecture, something that's low hanging fruit.
Can I jump in really
You
quick?
sure can.
So Eric.
Hang on.
I think what
I need to clarify.
let me help clarify. So like, if your lecture is, and I'm gonna use easy numbers, like if it's from 8 to noon and you have an exam that day, that just, we have to separate like how many lecture hours we have to scheduling. Like, I see what you're saying. Like if I have 50 hours of lecture, but if I just move, I calculate it in a way where it still fits. I still do 50, but I add time here, like that's what she's saying, we can't do it. Like it has to be tested within the 8 to 12 time. And I remember doing this in block one a while ago where it would, I'm not gonna lie, it would suck because I would test. And then I would only have like 2.5 hours of that content versus 4 hours because it was test day.
So what happens?
You can't add to the time frame of your lecture. Does that make sense? Cause I think you're coming from, well, I'm still using these 50 hours that I have, but I'm spreading it out.
I have to see it reflected in SIS, bottom line.
But if he's comparing peds to OB, we have the same amount of hours. If we lectured for 4.5 hours and included our exam time, we'd be over hours.
That's the
So
problem.
That's what I'm trying
Right,
to like
and we're
say,
not-
like you have to have it.
And we're
short
not
your
over
lecture.
hours, like we have our hours broken down, like. we
How
can
many
show
lectures do you have?
5.
So 6 hours. You have 6 hours per lecture day that you are allowed to do whatever you need to do. That includes lecture, exams when you exam, orientation when you orient. I put in those 6-hour block into SIS. It covers all of your hours. It doesn't get kicked back by scheduling saying you don't have enough. It doesn't get kicked back saying your exams are included in this now. How you choose to divide that 6 hours is up to you.
Okay.
But what we're not capturing right now, because it's on everyone's spreadsheets, is that you're actually are there for 6 hours. They have when I say they, I mean anyone outside of the spreadsheet holders. They don't understand that our spreadsheets have the time blocked out so that we can make sure that we're meeting all of the hours, we're not going over because of the complexity of our schedule. Does that make sense? Yeah, and you, yes,
I'm sorry.
no, you just take that 6 hour, but anybody can do, anybody could do that. They've, block one's got 60 hours. They would do the same thing, divide the number of lectures. This is what it should look like. Now, if you know you've got X number of orientation, take that orientation, spread it out over, decrease the time a little bit. Then we know we're in the set hours we need, but that layout looks different. Does that make sense?
So then DRS, how does it?
I will come back to DRS because I'm gonna tell you, I've done it with DRS, me personally, I know what the pain of this, I know the pain of lecturing during, it doesn't matter, sometimes you're gonna lecture, you'll test them before you lecture, like I would test them, give them 15 minutes, they come back and just wanna talk about the test. So then it came down to my ability to do classroom management and control that anxiety and flow, came down to me. Then, or I tried it, let's do it at the end. And then, oh my God, professor, my head's falling off, right? Again, my job to figure out. Then I went to, okay, well, what if I figure out what's the lighter kind of days that I have? And we'll exam on those days. And then we'll have some lighter content, lift it up a little bit. You know, you're never gonna make it perfect for everybody. But it's just how you're gonna navigate that time. And you might look different than your critical care partner.
I mean, I was just worried about, like, I have 2 8 AM classes, I can't test at 8 AM.
So for that,
The
you.
DRS will never make it to class.
Well, the DRS students, that's a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother thing. And the reality is, if you have a DRS student, they are afforded their accommodations. Your lectures are your lectures. We can't hold up a lecture for them to show up, right? I know Kelsey had an issue with one. She's like, well, I gotta make a whole nother test. Is that really gonna be the end of your world? That's our job as faculty, is to create that extra test for the accessibility for those students. But you give a student in advance, your DRS students, and you say, these are the days that we are gonna have our exams. We have lecture here, when are you doing your tests? And they have to go and schedule them in advance and let you know that they are scheduled. I would have a different exam and let them go the day before.
Okay, so,
There you go. Here's your day before. You know when every single one of them is scheduled. That way they didn't miss class. But I also made sure I had it all in writing that said, if you're going to miss a portion of class, if you choose to take it, you are still responsible for all of the material and have somebody take notes, whatever that may be.
And then they just don't show up to class till 9:30 or something.
If they chose that, most of them chose to go the day before.
Well,
But they
if
did
they're
have
saying
it-
They already took their test and I have an 8 AM class, then they just don't show up that day.
You give them the test the day before your lecture. So if you have a lecture and you're giving an exam that day, that DRS student gets a different exam the day before.
They would just show up after the exam.
They'll
Yeah,
show
so
back.
they-
But if it's 8 they can't get in, that's what she's saying. An 8 AM class, you can't get a DRS double accommodation in to test
Yeah.
and make it to an 8 AM class. So you have to come up with a different plan for those students to ensure that they can still have access to class.
Yeah, I think she means like, does the DRS student come after the students are done with their exam, because she took it the
They've
day
already
before.
tested the day before.
You know, so when she comes to
Yeah,
class,
you
she's
would
gonna
just,
come later.
you would tell her to come later.
That's what I
She
think.
spent some of her class time in the testing center.
It's,
Yeah.
yeah, we are accommodating, we are doing what we're supposed to for our disability students. And so her having it the day before, she's already taken her test, y'all don't have to worry about it. You tell her what time she shows up. So if you have it built in, like I said, if mine started first thing in the morning, I'd have that 15-minute break. This is when you have to be at class. Don't show up later, don't be disruptive, you show up at this time, this is the break, we let you in. Because they don't have to be there. And then you also get real clear with them about talking about anything that they saw on their own exam. Because I did have that once, and it was only once, and once we worked through that, that was done. That was done. We'd never had another issue again. But you do have to have, that is our obligation, and DRS will take you down if you try and not do that. So,
so
hang on, can I get to Gracia? She's been trying to raise her hand for a hot minute.
Just really quick, also to piggyback to the changing of the schedules and just having everything set, it also, this semester was a bit of a challenge for BNFP students too, so we generally would like to we generally like to give them the schedule for retention meetings and tracking sheets way in advance before the next semester. So what happened was they had their retention meeting dates based on everyone's feedback on when you guys were lecturing back in April. And what we found that the changes that were made during the summer or end of the semester affected when some of these the BNFP students, some were not able to attend the retention meeting. So all I ask, I know last minute we can't control, is that you guys send us an email, just letting us know like, hey, we're changing this, we're updating, because we need on our end to update our schedule for the students and just for it to flow a little bit easier. So that's one of the trickle effects of changing things very last minute and not communicating. And we all have, we'll all have especially blocks on cohorts A and C. Now we will have more BNFP students coming in. So that will help us quite a bit. If there is any last minute changes, just email myself, Josefa or Marilyn, and we'll get that.
And I've also asked, I met with Corinne to talk about scheduling. She is already scheduling everything based off of the things that you guys have put in for the labs, but she is
But for this
also,
semester, for fall semester,
no, for next semester.
Everything's already in.
Yeah.
Everything's in for this semester.
But I thought we just said we have to change it.
For the spring.
For spring.
No, that's, okay.
Just for spring. Yeah, the email you got was about spring 25.
Right.
So it does have to change.
Yeah.
Whatever you have right now, you're doing. You guys are planning and giving me what I need so that I can fix the spring schedule that's already been published. I work a year ahead of you guys usually, because that's how the planning is. I had to have the spring schedule in at the end of summer. Yeah.
Add asterisk and we have to go on that pattern, like on Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday.
They'll tell us.
Oh, you don't know yet.
Phoenix College will tell us those are the normal meeting patterns. I'll see how far I can get with them on it. I don't think they'll push back on us on our meeting patterns as much. Because we're in a cohorted model. So I think we're pretty safe on that one. But no, you're not going in right now and changing your exam pattern for fall or anything like that. You are coming up with your hours and design for what it looks like for next. That I do need because of what Gracia spoke about. We discovered like we can't have students, and this was my conversation with Corinne, we cannot have students not knowing what their schedule is. Before they must have it before they leave. Before they leave at the end of a semester, they should know what their dates are. We tried doing the clinicals with the faculty being able to give us dates. We're not gonna fight with that unless it's an RFP. If it's one of you guys wanting to take one of the specialty clinicals, then she will still work with you. Then we will just come up with the dates that are available. That is what will be available to adjuncts to staff. Check done, moving forward, because we need those students to have them, because I need that done so that our scheduling is up to date, that everybody knows what their schedules are, and we can adequately prepare for when we can have open labs, what we're gonna be looking at for in terms of setup. So she has already got knee deep in that one. Yes, ma'am.
How does the hours that are dedicated to our modules, how is that gonna affect this? Like, so, cause some of my 45 hours are dedicated to their online module, so then it'll look like it's coming up short.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I don't know how I'm gonna address that one yet.
Okay.
So I'll add it to
Yeah.
I'll add it to my list.
So what's the real deadline?
Cause that was my question.
It's already posted.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
So what's the real deadline for you? Cause obviously we have to meet and figure this out.
My real deadline is this week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
My very real deadline is this
One
week.
quick question about the schedule again. Lab hours, we're talking about lab hours. How much of the lab hours total can we give students as prep for lab, like practicing skills at home? Looking at videos and reading skills checklists?
Are you giving them a quiz over the concepts that
Yes.
they have gained as a
Or
result
weekly
of it?
assignment?
Yes, our weekly assignments.
If it's an assignment, it's just an assignment.
No, they're gonna get tested on those skills that they're practicing, but they need to prepare for lab.
like, I think she means if you're having them do some sort of module at home,
Yes.
is there an assessment of that module? That they have
No,
to
do
show,
they- can
almost
those
like a
count
ticket
towards lab
to
hours?
lab.
Because we have that. Yeah, so I wanna make sure.
I'll have to sit down with you guys and take a look at it, it sounds like.
Okay.
Okay. And I know you inherited some stuff, but
Yeah.
we'll get through it.
Okay.
We'll get through it.
Yeah. Okay.
Alright. And then Eric, I saw your hand up again, or did you
Yeah.
get answered?
I just kind of piggybacking off of what Will said was like the online module, so like.
How many
uh,
hours you using for them?
Minimal. I think, I don't know, it's on our, listen, it's on our sheet, okay? It's on our spreadsheet, we have it. We do have it, it is on our spreadsheet, I cannot give you the numbers right now, but I know we have it broken down into like. Our module, our exam time, our lecture time, and it all fits within the hours that we have. So then, my next question is, so then, like, you calculated out, so like right now I have 5 days, right? And so I have those allotted 6 hours per day to meet the 30 hours. However, really technically then I need 6 days, so that would shorten the time. Because to exam on the last content on that 5th day would require a 6th day.
Or
right?
you
Because
could
we
include
can't-
it on your final.
Like we do.
But I thought you couldn't test new material on the final.
Yeah.
They have to be tested on it prior to the final. Right?
Who said
No.
that? Where's that come?
No.
Cause I thought somewhere in the testing guidelines it says you cannot.
Urban legend.
I swear I read somewhere in the testing guidelines that you cannot test new material on the final because they haven't been tested on it
New,
before.
new NGN style questions if you haven't tested, that's it, not new content.
Yeah, I used to test in when I taught in block 4, the content from the last one I used with, on the finals. So,
I'm gonna have to do some research, I swear.
And it's not new
Because-
content,
because
they
there's no-
already had the lecture on.
Well, they had the lecture, but
Yeah,
then
that
you're
is not
testing
new
them on it, but there's no remediation time if they didn't do well in that content other than the final. I swear I read it somewhere, I'll look.
well, your final's not supposed to happen until the end of the semester, so don't they still have remediation through transition to practice?
Sort of, I guess.
Well, like you didn't do a formal evaluation.
You can do a formal evaluation
Like,
of that
Could
content.
do an informal evaluation, I suppose, and then, whatever, right?
Actually, this is relevant to us too, because we have 14
So-
lectures. And our last lecture wouldn't be covered in our last exam, so is that?
So then,
I think that might be splitting hairs because the final's cumulative.
Yeah.
So like, if you have, also
2 hours.
Yeah, 2 hours before the day of your lecture and that's your last lecture. I'm not sure that any biology faculty or English faculty or paramedicine or dental are like forcing an exam on those students. Do you see what I mean? And it's not best practice. That's not folks anyway. So find it so we could see it. And then that way.
I
we
swear I
can
read
address
it
it.
somewhere.
Yeah, because we can address
You'll
it
find
and
it.
then I'll lean back into their guidelines, not a policy.
Yeah, some of it is.
All I can say is it was
They are
effective.
Guidelines, they are not. a
It was
policy.
effective for me.
Okay.
It was effective, it looks like it's effective for block 3, doesn't mean it's gonna be effective for everybody.
I mean,
That's all I can say.
That's fine, I mean,
Yeah.
as long as it, like, I swear I read somewhere that we could do
It
that, but
falls
if
under, because it's
everyone did-
guidelines, so it falls under like the percentages of how many alternate format questions you can have on your exam. There's percentages for each,
Recommendation.
there's recommended percentages for each block. Block 4, you guys can have up to half of your exam be all alt format.
Oh, he takes
Oh, yeah.
advantage of it.
Right.
I totally take advantage of that and my students hate me. I know.
Might do the bare minimum of those guidelines, or they might stay at like a lower percentage. It's guidelines, like.
So let me start, I know block one, you got some issues, and we're
Oh,
gonna
so
work
many
through that.
issues.
Block 4, you're gonna be looking at,
I have some ideas.
I'm gonna look at the hybrid
Yeah.
conversation.
Technology enhanced.
It's technology enhanced, yeah, not supposed to use hybrid, because hybrid means, yeah, now hybrid, according to ASIN, means that it's distance learning. They've changed their thing for it. Block 2, does block 2 have any challenges?
Regarding the testing. We need to meet
Okay.
and to make it work. We'll make it work.
I know the last thing I saw with Misty, she's like, yeah, I think we're saying the same thing and I have ideas. Beautiful.
We have ideas.
That's all I saw was, I just wanted to know, okay. And then block 3, I hear some med surge.
I will just need to shift my exams to my lecture day and make it within my blocked out time, which means shortening the time that I'm lecturing to them, that we're like in
Are
lecture.
you hour for hour right now?
For med surge, yeah, well, yeah, for all the content, it's pretty much hour for hour. So, but there's, improvements I can make in my delivery and shorten the amount of time that they're actually like doing stuff. Cause they have all of the content as recorded lectures prior to coming to class.
Well, see, then you come in and you do the activities and it's active learning. Hang on one second. OB, do we have any OB concerns with?
You and I are just gonna sit down and have a meeting with some spiked coffee.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to join that meeting.
Please don't put that in the meeting minutes.
This is required.
She means like.
She said
Spike with 6 shots of espresso.
It's gonna include cinnamon.
Okay, so
A
OB,
and B cohort is fine.
A and B is fine. It's
I just-
just C.
I just have a lot of clarifications and I'm not taking up everybody's time for my turn.
Got you. All right, so I got you on that one. Block 1, we're gonna be hanging out. Block 4. Outside of.
I mean, I have some
Kalici's giving me the eyes, but it's also the eyes of a tired night shift nurse.
We talked about not moving lecture day based on Mayo available clinicals, so we need to set a day and keep it.
And how does that work for you teaching all 3 cohorts?
I don't know yet, I haven't started.
Because we absolutely still have to, with all of this, recognize that we have constraints in this building. The building can only do so much. We only have so much parking. There's only so much we can do.
Yeah.
So we just have to be very cognizant of that. I'm open to hear whatever. I know block 3 med surge. Well, that was about lab scheduling. Karen came forward with some stuff that she's gonna try out, see if we can't save some money. Bless her. You'll tell me when you're ready. I love that for you.
I think we're gonna move forward. I think we're gonna move forward with Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Feel it.
Feel it? Okay. Okay. What about psych mental health, Elizabeth?
I'm
Well-
good with block 3. The right pattern. I want it to all look very uniform.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then once we meet with you, then we bridge Corinne in if we need those extra lab hours, right?
Oh, we absolutely need to have her in right from the start because it's gonna come down to classroom, there's another class, like, so much is she has to be able to identify. But knowing where those opportunities might lie is gonna help me when I have to keep pushing back on scheduling, saying, I'm not gonna have this for you right now. But we do have to try and get it as quickly as possible.
Okay.
Fun stuff. Isn't scheduling fun?
Now you don't gotta do it again.
If we fix it and walk away, then we would be good. We just gotta get it straight and then stop changing it, please. Yes.
So for block 3, they do their orientation and the HESI review like the week of accountability before class starts. So does that have to be during lecture time now?
So, well, it can't be mandatory if you do it ahead of time.
Okay.
Can't be mandatory. If you want to make it mandatory, then you have to tell me because I have to extend the dates of your class. And I have to get a special request done for it, to say that your class starts the week before. And then it's orientation. And anybody has that option of doing that. That would mean the students would be coming in during the week of faculty accountability.
But also on that, like the regular orientations, we tell them it's mandatory and there's no repercussions if they don't come, but.
If you guys don't put a repercussion on it, I can't.
But that's what I'm saying, we can't really, it's outside of class time, right? So.
Yeah, that's what we ran into last semester.
That it wasn't an SIS and students were like, well, it wasn't there.
It sure wasn't, because you guys didn't tell me.
know, and
If you
so-
don't tell me your orientations,
So we've always had it the week before and it's always been mandatory on our calendars.
you guys are gonna miss stuff that's probably applying to you over here as well. And what we were talking about was the orientations that are happening before classes start. If that is something that you have, you have to let me know, because I have to extend the SIS schedule to include it so that students then know it's a mandatory thing. And we used to do it, we had to stop doing it, and then we found out Gateway was still doing it, and so I went to Margie and I said, tell me how. Tell me how to make this happen within policy. And so there is a way to do it, but not if I don't know.
See, well, block three's been doing orientation the week before.
And block 4 used to do it too.
Yeah, like
And
it's
block
it's
one used
always,
to.
always
But
since I've
we're
been
not-
there.
remember,
But you can't hold anybody accountable for it.
what we've always done is getting changed. So it doesn't behoove us to keep strict.
No, it's just, it's like, it's
I
interesting.
love behoove.
It's just interesting to hear
Yeah,
requirements that like we weren't, what we've been doing for so long, we weren't allowed to do.
Welcome to our
Yeah,
world.
like that's like, you know, that's my perspective on it, like, oh, wow, we've been doing this for
3
years
years
now.
Been doing it wrong.
And we've,
And so
and
just that's my,
8 years and we've been doing it. So
right, so.
again, you
So
know, the pieces
either-
that the ad astra is aligning us.
Yeah.
And the
request,
communication.
You have
Or
to
we
tell.
can put
Yeah,
it on
bottom
Friday.
line, we let you know when they are, so you put it in SAS, when all the orientations are.
Yes.
Just wait.
Then I'm able to do, yeah, I've got probably 40 hours of work just to do to redo the schedules that are already posted. But I have to know it. I have to have the hours. I have to be able to say it's mandatory. Like, I have to ask for a request to start it before the semester starts. Because technically the semester starts on that Saturday before. So I have to be able to put those requests in, or it's not gonna happen. We'll still be out of alignment and then we can get nailed. ASIN and Arizona Board of Nursing. Board of Nursing's not gonna notice it. ASIN will certainly notice it, but you know who's gonna be coming right after ASIN? HLC. They're gonna see it. They will absolutely notice something like that. So we just have to make sure that we have gone through the appropriate channels. No one's saying that it can't be done. But what we are saying is that right now, whoever's doing it is out of alignment. And we can't hold a student accountable for something that they are not required to, like, we just can't. So it just causes more frustration for everybody when you're trying to hold them accountable. Yep.
So I have two questions. So in doing that, how do we hold them accountable if it's in SAS and they don't show up? What do we do?
What do you guys want to do?
I don't know.
They didn't show up for the
Cause
first
it's
day of
not,
class.
that's not a you thing.
That's a faculty.
Well,
It's a faculty thing.
So
there's the first day of class and then there's like whatever, like you can have an activity in your Canvas that they have to have participated in at the start of the class. So like we have a getting started quiz that constitutes their participation
okay,
in the first day of class. So like this semester, I had a student who was sick the day of our mandatory orientation. She did the components of the getting started module, so she met the requirements of attending the class.
But this is different. Attending on the first day is a financial aid component.
Oh, well.
Yep, that's where that actually comes from, of having them do an assignment on that first day. It's focused towards financial aid, participation, you knowing if a student's there. It's really designed for the online classes to ensure engagement. This is something different. This is an orientation to the program for our Block 1 students, what she's talking about, the transfer and advanced placements. We've got to get them onboarded to program level things. So Michelle's asking, how do we hold them accountable? One, we have to ensure that it shows, right? We can do that first one because it's an entry level program expectation and we already told them it's in the welcome letter.
right.
Now, what the faculty have to decide is what you want us to do about it. You want me to put them on, give them a warning?
A learning contract.
Like, you want me to start them off on a learning contract before they even get in? Do you want me to personally have a conversation with them about personal accountability? Like, the faculty, you let me know how you want us to handle that program level one that Michelle rules out. and I'll be all over it.
I mean, that might help
Yeah.
with like moving forward in the program and those who just like
Don't
don't show up for their
don't-
clinical because it's right before an
And
exam.
then you just say,
or
oh,
it's
sorry,
like-
I didn't see it, or.
Yeah,
Right, like,
so-
if we start them early on that personal accountability, like, I feel like that could be a ripple effect
Where
through
does
the
it
rest of
come
the
in?
program, where like.
Yeah, we had a lot this time that didn't, like, that came to the refresher. I didn't see that. They
See,
didn't come
and,
in,
and
it's like-
at the time, like, I sent them home.
It didn't happen last semester, it was new, so I was
Yeah.
like, well, what do we?
But that's me as a faculty, me as an educator, I would have sent them home. Rule number 1, read the directions. It's a life skill. Like, you know,
Yeah.
it's a life skill, as
So
Misty
many
would
of them
say.
don't read the letter.
But you know what?
directions.
The choice that an adult has made to not read the letter in its entirety after they've been told, a choice with consequences that I'm not willing to take on for them. I am not the holder of excuses. That's gonna be something, you just have to let me know how do you wanna set them up? It can be a conversation, it can be a more formal, written, actionable item. But you guys decide that, because these students that we're talking about come into every block. Block 1's the most, but the advanced placements, that's 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
Those are transfers, they've come from whatever culture of whatever school they were at, and maybe they were allowed to do that. Maybe they were allowed to say, meh, I don't have to do that. How many of you have heard? Nobody's ever said anything like that to me before. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm
happy to be the first.
It's been very hard because then they perceive it as if we're not preparing them, when there's a whole set of preparation that they're getting in these workshops.
Right.
And then they come here and then they make it like it's our issue, or we created this problem for them. So I am a huge advocate, especially for advanced placement in block 3, to have a learning contract or something. And we've all talked about the gap for advanced placement, so that would be my thought.
I had a part 2.
We will get the scheduling handled. This is not the first time that they have done a shift on us. We will make sure that this gets done. I do want to take, because we only have about 20 minutes, that don't want to shut down the conversation, but Javay, do we have, she's like, oh, wait.
We'll figure
And
it out.
then Kel's there, Kel's is on as well.
Hey, Kels, how are you? She's like working.
Hi.
Yeah, she is working, so she might.
Yeah, it's okay. I know how it goes. Javay, what's it looking like out there for our clinical situation?
Hi, everybody. Good morning. How clinicals are fine. Right now, I think most blocks are in the midst of doing their like service learning, special opportunity things. So as far as this semester, things are going okay. I will be contacting Block 4 faculty. We have a few things to discuss about service learning. We need to readdress conduct when we're a guest in our locations. And I think it'd probably be best coming from faculty than from me. So I'll be reaching out to the Block 4 faculty for that. I believe Block 2 students are getting ready to head out to their behavioral court. And so things are going good there. I will be sending out those NDAs. The students need to provide the copy of the NDAs when they show up to court. However, per discussion with leadership, we're going to keep a copy for our records on campus. So we're going to be doing that. So Gabe, I'll follow up with you in regards to record keeping of those copies of the NDAs for behavioral court. For the spring semester, so I will begin submitting requests come October 7th. I sent out an email to you guys this morning for those that have not provided their schedules to me for spring 25 to send those to me by Friday. It shouldn't be much of a difference. Per leadership, most schedules are going to be remaining the same. So we are pretty much good there. I've already submitted requests for banner for our fast track students, and then also for Honor Health. Honor Health operates outside of the consortium. Dignity, just for update for you guys. In regards to that, Dignity has decided to join back into the consortium. So we will see how that goes for the future. So everything is moving. We have a short turnaround time for compliance. The schedule continuously changes from semester to semester. And the schedule comes from our district. So we're just rolling with it, but we have a 2-week turnaround for everyone to be in compliance for the spring semester. And that also includes faculty as well. So be prepared for that. Clinical agencies, all of the requests have to be in by November 18th. And to all of the agencies, and then we have holiday break. And as we know, typically the agencies do not approve those things by the deadlines they provide us. So I am anticipating a delay. So I will be sending out communications to students and faculty to just stay on top of the compliance. As of now, there are no changes to the compliance requirements in my clinical exchange for the spring. They probably be happening in the summer. Even though we just had a big change this last summer, I think there's going to be some more additional changes that are going to be coming. So be prepared for that too, to come down the line. And if there are any changes, I will communicate with the group. I'm trying to zoom through this for time. Block 3 faculty, please encourage your students to apply for those NNE-TTP requests, because those emails are going to start being sent out. Banner will start their NNE-TTP application process in the next week or so. So please encourage the students to do that. Most of the facilities are going towards the application route. So Honor Health, Dignity, Banner, Mayo all have an application process. Oh, and so does PCH, but it's not as formal as the other clinical partners. So please encourage that.
We can't hear you.
My internet just kicked out, so maybe that's it.
I think the internet kicked out.
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
there
I
you
was.
are.
So please encourage was the last thing.
Yes. So please encourage Block 3 students moving forward to Block 4, right? Hopefully all, to apply for the transition to practice, aka the NNE application process for the following facilities: Banner Health, Honor Health, Dignity Health, Mayo Clinic, and PCH. Mayo Clinic and PCH application process is not as formal as the other 3 mentioned, but please encourage them. I can't tell you how many times students tell me, oh, I didn't know. And so then me and Kelechi have to work on the back end to try to get them in. And they're becoming more and more stricter in the process. It is a merit-based process for most of the facilities. They're requiring a GPA of 3.5 and higher. So please encourage those students to check their emails and to apply for those opportunities, because over the next few months, October, November, those facilities will be sending out those notifications for students to apply. And it's a really great opportunity for many of the students. And lastly, I want to clarify some things with the Honor Health My Clinical Exchange job description requirement. So from Honor Health themselves, what they are requiring for faculty is to provide a syllabus of your clinical outcomes, like for the course. So you can provide a syllabus or per leadership's email. I think this was only sent to Block 2, but this counts for everyone. They're also requiring or a option to upload into MCE is the expectations of the course. You guys are the experts, so I am asking you guys in the room, I don't know who would be responsible for that, but to create some sort of document that we can house to outline those clinical courses expectations for the students. The facilities, more and more so, facilities are leaning on us to provide them with this information so that they can tailor the experience a little more to meet the needs of our students. So this is an effort to make the clinical experience a little better, not just for the students, but also for the faculty. So we're asking for our faculty to create something, and it can be short and sweet, a Word document that just say X, Y, and Z needs to be done. You could do it in bullet points. They didn't really give a lot of direction. I didn't receive a lot of direction from HCE, so I think whatever we provide them would be acceptable. As far as that.
Do you think it would be helpful, Javay, if the blocks we made a decision to have, these are the things that we're gonna provide? So it was standard coming from PC?
Absolutely. I wanted to have continuity. So whatever that looks like, I think that would be great.
And so this is what the students' clinical experience looks like, or what the adjuncts are responsible for, or both?
The students, what
clinical
the
experience.
clinical outcomes are for the students.
Okay.
What the class expectations and the expectations of them in clinical. They called it a job description,
Yeah.
which created all kinds of.
Yeah.
I was like, that's not a job description. Like, I don't understand.
What the students are to experience or be
Yes,
responsible for.
but if we can come up with that together collectively, like not, you guys decide what are those key things, then we'll have a document for each one that can be uploaded, that Javay can access, and like, here it is.
Javay, I have a clarifying question. Are they, English is not so good today. Are they gonna be expecting each faculty member for their compliance for each clinical to be uploading this separately, or they, like, cause I just need to communicate to the adjuncts?
Yes, absolutely. So it would be each faculty will have to upload this requirement specifically for honor health.
Perfect. So you guys send that to me and I will embed it in the PC faculty course so that
Yes.
they have access to this document all the time.
Correct.
The workflow.
Correct. Right, correct. We want it to be housed somewhere in Canvas, so everyone can just use the same thing.
If you make it a lot-
And just expect, and whatever it is, because down the line, the other facilities are gonna be doing this, making this a requirement, probably next semester. So, and I'll send an email to address everything I just said, but to everyone. So if we could have that by spring, it's not, we've already done fall. So for the next semester, have that rolled out. I know we're all very busy and things of that nature, but this is what's coming down the pipeline. I think that's it for my updates. Are there any questions?
Can you share how many one-to-one transition, what percentage of our block fours got a one-to-one this semester?
Let's see, I think we are at about a third. I think we had 21, let me see. I think we had about 21 students get selected. So about, a third of them. I'm working on a little more. There are a few students that are requesting outside of the consortium. So we may be able to squeeze a few in that have reached out to me that are wanting to work specifically with their employer or have a place in mind that they would be interested in.
That's for everyone else to know. These are the students, so when they're talking about, it's talking about the fact that they don't get to go to some specialty, whatever that specialty is. When they get to transition to practice, not only have we been able to open those types of experiences for those who are interested in them truly in transition to practice, but Jave has also been able to start getting those students, those are students that used to have to go in a group. And now we've got a third of them that get to do one-on-ones. And years ago, we had, all the students had a one-on-one. So the goal is to keep on moving that needle so that we have more and more of the students who get to experience that during TTP.
Absolutely, absolutely. Wish me all luck, everybody. I'm trying to get a particular student into the Indian reservation. So send me all the good vibes.
Oh, yes, ma'am. And we do have a contract with Indian Health Services.
Well, that's not the hurdle.
Okay. You don't gotta say anything else. I know what the hurdle is. It's fine.
So, yes, and I will once we start collecting what we get approved for, I'll communicate with you guys probably mid-October of kind of what facilities, so you guys can start planning where you would like to go for the spring semester. But we are good on banner requests and Honor Health, and of course, Kalechi, I got you on Mayo Clinic.
You can also do like Mayo at night if there's no day shift opportunities, because I know there's nobody there at night. So
I will definitely keep that in mind because I do like to offer a few night shifts for students. There are students that actually have requested night shifts.
Yeah, we got
It's
one
never
sitting there right now. I walked in and I said, "How you doing, friend?" And he's like, "Okay." I was like, "Oh, that is way too long of a pause. What's going on?" And he said, "I work night shift." Noted. Tired. Noted.
Yes, yes. And I will say moving forward with our relationship that we have with Honor Health now, we're going to avoid Abrazo. I've heard a few things just all together about all of the facilities. So I am making the decision to completely remove them from our clinical experience.
And Jave, I found out where Alice is.
Where is she?
She's with the jail systems.
I'm calling her.
Let's go.
For that.
Let's go. But you gotta have the right pathway in. That's where she's at.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Okay, well, sounds good.
and
We're
I
going to
would
be
love-
going to jails.
I would love to get a transition to practice there.
Absolutely.
They pay so much better. I'm just gonna say, their pay rate, and we have students that live way out there like, please, I'd like to do it. So, well, thank you so much, ma'am. I appreciate you.
Thank you, guys. Have a good week.
All right, talk to you later. So, the last couple of things, one, Arizona expansion grant. Yeah, so the Arizona expansion grant, I don't know if you recall that they presented a lot of data to all the presidents and stuff, and I started telling them that's not right. The numbers, that's not how the math works. Those numbers are not correct for PC. Kept repeating it. February, April, May, guess what? Kara and Kalichi, you were actually charged to my Fund One account, not to the grant. And so we took a really, really big financial hit. So that 1.9 million where I kept sitting back going, it's not us. We just found out it was. The grants manager.
I need 1.9 million.
Yeah. We are a part of the problem on the academic affairs side. I got Angela involved. I was all over the program manager. I'm like, there is literally nothing else I could have done. I notified you in the same way. All four of our people were on the same email to you. How did you only take two and then leave the faculty off? And they didn't help me find it. I had to go into this 4,000 line Excel spreadsheet and disaggregate and find the error. So, initially I thought it was gonna be in supplies, and Corinne said, isn't this their job? Like, why are we doing it? And I said, just hold, let me start with the people first. And the way it works is it spreads out every individual pay piece by week. So you have to go in there and do a whole lot of sorting, filtering, double checking, and that's where I discovered it. What they told us was, sorry, fiscal year has closed and we can't give you that money.
Excuse me?
At the same time, the state has still not approved our funding for this year. So now we are sitting in a holding pattern where district has said, don't spend any more of your grant money. I said, well, I have people in grant funded positions, so what's that gonna look like? And they're like, no, it's fine. You're also telling me not to spend money, and you guys took a whole lot of money and benefits from us that we now have to figure out how to right size at our college, and you're telling me I might not get to spend that money? No. So that's where we're at with the expansion grant. Angela is all over it. We are waiting to find out from the state what will happen. However, in the event that we are able to take all of that money, that is going to filter into our building conversation of renovation, because when I asked Angela, I said, I'm gonna go with Marilyn and take a look at, and Corinne, go take a look at the building space on Friday. Gonna go have a little walkthrough of it. And the next thing that Angela said, and this is, just for us, she's like, well, I really wouldn't worry too much about it. We'd probably have to knock it down and build you at least something as nice as what you have.
Okay.
That's what I said. I went, "Okay." So we're gonna see, we have started trying to find out the cost to move certain things. The move from the upstairs lab is so extensive. The amount of money we will need. I don't know if everybody heard, but the $1,000 a bed alone, the moving of our server rooms. We have 2 server rooms, the moving of taking out all of our high flex and recording stuff and then moving it. The nice part is, if this actually happens, nothing happens quickly, so I don't imagine it happening, next year or anything. But if some of those things start moving, one of the nice things again is that we would be on main campus, and we can design. We tried to fit into this building in the current layout that it had as a bank processing center. Over there, we would be able to look at it in terms of all the gaps that we've now identified living in here for 10 years, right? There'd be nice if there was more space in between the beds. There are certain things, we know that the labs would be better suited on the first floor versus on the second floor. So now we've learned some